Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today I'm going to be sharing with you these two cards that have a beautiful floral masked background with a touch of gold as well. So if you are a monochrome and gold lover, this one may be for you. So to start with, I'm going to be using the beautiful Vintage Garden set. So I have the stamp, I also have the mask stencil and the die. So I'm going to start off with the large floral, and I'm going to be stamping that onto a piece of 4 1/4 by 5.5 parchment cardstock using some Obsidian ink. Now for this one, I am going to stamp all over the background, so I have a continuous piece. So it will appear that I've cut it from a large piece of pattern paper. So as you can see, I've stamped one of them down in position. I'm then going to stamp around this, kind of radiating out to give me that effect of a full piece of pattern paper. So as before, I am using the Obsidian black. You can use whichever black that you do have though, as we will not be doing anything really other than ink blending on the top of it. So once I have all of my little pieces in place for this one, I'm then going to move this one to the side and we're going to go ahead and cut some masks. Now I want to cut multiple masks at the same time using the die. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of copy paper, so some scrap paper that you have to hand. This is really thin. And I am going to be cutting 6 of these in one go. So I'm just folding these up, just making sure that the die is going to fit onto all of them. And then once that's in place, I'm just going to add a little bit of tape and then I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. Once I've run that through my die cutting machine, as you can see, I've created a multiple number of masks just with one go. So I have 6 of those to use. For the other panel, I am going to take a 4 1/4 by 5.5, again, parchment cardstock. And I'm going to mask 1/2 inch from all of the sides, so the top, the bottom, the left and the right. And I'm just using some washi tape. You can use whichever one that you do have, or you could use some scrap paper again just to mask off this 1/4 inch off each of the sides of this panel. So once I've done that, I can then take one of my masks that I've already die cut, and I'm just going to work out where I want this to be. Once I'm happy, I'm just going to use my alternate tape. And I'm just going to add some of that behind here. Now I don't want this to stick properly into place onto that panel. I just want it to be nice and tacky. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that stick off with my fingers and then pop that into place. I can then take the first panel that we did and I'm just going to do exactly the same. So I'm going to take one of the masks, I'm going to add a little bit of the glue behind it. I'm going to take some of the sticky off because I don't want them to adhere down properly, and then I'm going to pop this over the stamped image that we have on that background piece. Now you can chop and cut these little masks as it's only scrap paper, so we're not really wasting anything at all. So once I've done that, I'm then going to take a foam blending tool and I'm going to be taking the antique gold ink. Now I do find that this ink works better with a foam blending tool rather than a brush one, and also you want to pounce the colour on there. That's going to give you a really thicker, more beautiful look. That way you're going to be able to see the beautiful metallic sheen on that one. So all I'm going to do is I'm going through past the little masks that we have onto the background to change the colour of the background and not the colour of the stamped images that we have on that parchment cardstock. So this pigment ink is going to cover over that parchment and give us a really beautiful gold colour. Once I have completed the whole of the bits that we're showing, all I'm going to do now is remove all of the masking. Now you do need to be gentle with this part because you don't want to rip anything or your cardstock underneath. But if you are having trouble taking this masking off or the masking paper, what you can do is use a little bit of heat from your heat tool just to kind of melt that adhesive. If any of the adhesive is left on your background, I would recommend that you then take an eraser and kind of get rid of the adhesive with it. It's just going to rub off really, really easily. So once I have all of that off, I'm then going to take the panel with the one that we haven't stamped. I'm going to pop that into my MISTI. Again, I'm going to take that stamp again and I'm going to pop it into place where we have that negative space on the masking. So once that's in place, I can pick that up on the MISTI and I'm then going to use my Obsidian ink to ink the whole stamp again and then stamp that back into place where the negative space is on the other side. So once I have that done, I can then move on to adding a little bit of shading to these images. So I am going to be using the Simple Colouring Stencil, the Vintage Garden one, so it coordinates with this set. And I'm just going to pop this into place. Now I'm lining up the centre pieces for these flowers. I'm then going to be using the Milk Chocolate ink and a small ink blending tool, and I'm just going to ink over all of this stencil. So there are 2 stencils in the set. One goes with the leaves and the smaller bloom, and then one is for just this beautiful little cluster that we have here. So as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm inking through the stencil and then I'm moving it back into place onto the other image and just moving it around until I have the whole of the images on this one complete. Once I've done this one, I can then move it over to the other panel that we have going on. And again, I'm just going to be using that same milk chocolate ink to go through and add the shading onto those beautiful floral images. Once I've done that, I'm going to go on to my sentiment. I'm going to be using the Mega Label Love stamp set, and I'm just going to be taking 2 of these sentiments in here. So I went for the Miss You and the Hello. It did take me a little while to decide which ones that I wanted to go with. And then I'm going to add those onto my block, ink them up using some Obsidian ink, and I'm going to be stamping these onto some parchment. As we've used parchment for the background, I didn't want to go with a white cardstock because I just kind of wanted this to kind of blend in with the background but not have a pop of white like I would have done if I'd have stamped this onto Classic Crest. So I've stamped one of the images and I'm then going to stamp the second sentiment. I did dry these off a little bit with my heat tool. I'm then going to take my little scissors or large scissors, whichever ones you have, and I'm just going to cut around these, just leaving a small outline around that block sentiment that we have there. I can then take 2 card bases, so these are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm just going to pop my little panels into place on the front of them. I'm using my Altenew tape glue as it is my favourite and it works perfect. So I have my 2 sentiments now. And for a little bit of dimension, as the rest of the card is really flat, I am going to add a little bit of foam tape behind these just to pop them up a little bit and add a little bit of interest. I then found that I wanted a little bit more interest because everything was kind of flat. So I'm just going to take some jet black enamel dots and I'm just going to pop these into place around that little sentiment that we've just popped up there. So I'm just going to use 3 on each of the cards. So here are the cards complete. I really do hope that you like them. I love that touch of gold over that parchment cardstock. I think it really does glow. So I really do hope that you enjoy the cards and that you like the video as well. If you do create a card that was inspired by this, it'd be great if you do share because we'd love to see. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, crafty friend, Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.